Yo, what's good, y'all? Thanks for checking in with DFJ Hoops. I'm your host, Andre. And not gonna waste any much time on this. Daryl Morey had a press conference earlier today, and we're just gonna react to it, give our thoughts, and analyze everything that he said, break everything down. And yeah, I just want to do this real quick because I think there's a game going on right now. I have to catch it, but salute to each and everyone that tuned in, whoever's listening or whoever's going to listen on the playback. But let's just get into this. Let's not waste any much time. Without further ado, let's just get into this real quick. So, um, Daryl Morey spoke to the media today. The 76ers got bounced in round one, so he was supposed to address them, and I had no idea it was going to be today. I got the notification. I think uh 20 minutes before the actual press conference. It was at 1 o'clock, so it was impromptu to me, but nonetheless, I listened to everything. I rewatched it again, and he gave his thoughts on the season, how everything went, the ups and downs that the players went through, the coaching staff, and everybody else, the fans went through, and things that he could have done prior to the season to have made the players' jobs even much easier when Joel went down. And shout out to all the players. Shout out to Maxey. Shout out to Buddy Hield, Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, and all those other guys. But Daryl Morey did say a lot of things in that presser. Now he did say a lot of good stuff, and a lot of. I mean, I'm not gonna say bad, but I'd say Sixer fans need to be a little bit concerned about some of the things that he said. I mean, first of all, we already know Daryl Morey he's a GM that always looks to get star players. That's one thing Sixer fans we need to take notice of, because if you look at his tenure with the Houston Rockets, he traded for Harden, he traded for Chris Paul, he traded for Russell Westbrook. So he's known to trade for stars. He's known to sign stars to, huge contracts, give the star players everything they need or want. So it shouldn't be a secret to Sixer fans. Now, one of the things that he said that really caught my attention. I mean, first of all, shout out to everybody that was there. Shout out to the media members. Keith Pompey was there. Kyle Newbeck was there. Shout out to him. Shout out to Derek. And, shout out to a few others that I'm forgetting right now. I mean, members of the media team, y'all do a very very good job. And there are certain questions that I wanted y'all to ask him. There's certain questions that me personally I really want answers to, but I'm not gonna get answers to those questions, and he probably wouldn't answer those questions because those are very very tough questions. And yeah, we know he's not gonna answer questions like that. But I mean, shout out to the to the media team. But one of the things that he said, or something that I really took notice of, was him always going to work with Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid in terms of the kind of players or caliber of players that they have to bring in, which I agree with, because most of the time, if you're constructing a roster, I think the roster or the team should fit the coach's his philosophy. Now, what do I mean by this? So, a quick example to what I'm saying right now is, if you take the '04 Pistons team, right? 2004 Pistons team that won the championship, that beat the Kobe and Shaq Lakers. If you take that Pistons team and you swap Larry Brown was the head coach for that team, but if you swap those two head coaches, if you swap Larry Brown and you insert Mike D'Antoni, shout out to both of these coaches. I don't think Mike D'Antoni ever won a championship, but Larry Brown did. But shout out to these two head coaches. But if you swap those two coaches out and you put Mike D'Antoni on the '04 Pistons team, they probably don't win a championship. Why is that? Is because that '04 Pistons team, that's a defensive minded team. And we all know Mike D'Antoni is an offensive minded coach. He's an offensive innovator. So if you put an offensive minded coach on a defensive unit, it's not really going to work out for that team, because they're not going to gel as much as they should. So my whole case in point is, with Daryl Morey looking to work with Nick Nurse to construct a roster, I think that's a great thing to do, because I believe there's certain players on this team that didn't really fit Nick Nurse's coaching style. And I'm not going to put any names out there, I'm not going to say any names, but I mean, we just know that there are a few players. Now, James Harden was one of them, which I voiced out my opinions in the offseason. I knew he was not going to play for Nick Nurse because his play style is just not fit for Nick Nurse's coaching style. Shout out to Hollywood Herb. Hey, bro. Hey, Herb, I appreciate you for pulling up, bro. I appreciate that, bro. Respect, bro. You gave me a shout out on one of your lives, and bro, it really helped me a lot. So shout out to you and everybody that's always giving me love. Shout out to BJ. Shout out to what you call it, JJ, my guy JJ, play by play with JJ. That's one of the best what you call it, one of the best play by play announcers on these YouTube streets. So shout out to everybody, bro. I appreciate the support. Yeah, I appreciate you, Herm. I appreciate you, Herm. But yeah, the case in point that I'm trying to make is that working with Nick Nurse is going to really help Nick Nurse a lot because he knows what kind of caliber of players that he's getting and the kind of caliber of players that he's going to be working with throughout the season. And with Embiid, I mean, Embiid is not going to say it, but they always work with the front office and in the sense of what kind of players to sign or what kind of players to trade and what caliber of players to bring back. Now, Daryl Morey did say that a lot of familiar faces will be returned, and so me personally, I hope to see Kelly Oubre back. I think Kelly Oubre really did a lot of great things for the Sixer team, and it was unfortunate that the Sixers got bounced in round one, so we didn't really get to see it fully. But hopefully, he can return on a team-friendly deal. Him, I think Buddy Hield needs to return as well. We didn't see Buddy Hield play with Embiid for the majority of the season, so we don't know how good or how great he could have been. Now, yeah, in the postseason, he didn't really show up. His shooting splits was not all that great, but I mean, I think with the full season playing with Joel and playing with everybody else, I think that's gonna really build continuity, and um, the Sixers will definitely need that in the long run. So yeah, these are two players that I hope that the Sixers might bring back. I mean, I don't work in the front office. I'm not Daryl Morey. He might have, different plans in mind. But I mean, Daryl Morey in this press conference, I mean, he did, contradict himself a lot. 1 minute he 1 minute he would imply that he might trade for a third star to add to Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and then another minute he'll say we really need depth, we really need depth, and a deep roster is what a team needs to win a championship. So I felt like he was contradicting himself in instances like that. But one of the quotes, I'm trying to pull this quote out real quick. Something that he said that really caught my attention, and I felt like he was throwing a little bit of subliminal shots to somebody on this team. The quote that he said was, this Sixer team really needs somebody at the wing position who can play and deliver in the playoffs. Someone at the wing who can play and deliver in the playoffs, which we all know that's a little bit of a shot at Tobias Harris because Tobias Harris is the third option on this team. Tobias Harris is the wing player, and Tobias Harris was expected to be the third, scoring option on this team in this postseason, but clearly he didn't show up. I think he averaged like 10 points per game, something like that. Some ridiculous numbers on ridiculous efficiency. I mean, terrible efficiency. His shooting splits was not all that great. But with Daryl Morey saying this kind of alludes to him possibly saying that they have plans to bring in a third star to this team. Now, in the process of him saying this, now, what are the names floating around that the Sixers could possibly sign in free agency? One of the huge names out there is Paul George. Now, I've said this multiple times. I'm going to say it again. Paul George is my favorite player. I mean, everybody knows this. Paul George is my favorite player. So shout out to Paul George. But do I want Paul George on my team? No. And the reason why I don't want Paul George on my team is that for number one, he's getting older. Paul George is getting older. Now, on opening night, I think he's going to be 34 years old or 35. Nah, he's 34. He just turned 34, I think 4 days ago. His birthday was May 2nd. So yeah, he's going to be 34 years old. And Paul George gives me the notion that sometimes he doesn't really care about basketball. Now, if you look or if you listen to his his the post game interview after I think game 6, his demeanor, his facial reaction, his body language, sitting there answering some of these questions, and I wasn't really feeling it. And I don't want, that kind of personality in our locker room, because it's going to be a very bad influence on players like Tyrese Maxey. It's going to be a bad influence on even Ricky Council and some of the young players that we might get, in this offseason, because the Sixers have a lot. I think they have, $60 million in cap space, if I'm not mistaken. Once Tobias Harris comes off the books, and a few other expiring contracts, once they all come off the books, the Sixers are going to have a lot of cap space to work with. So I don't really want Paul George, around this team, because that aura that he was showing, like that, I don't care. I mean, I'm just here to play basketball. Whatever happens, happens. Like, that's not the type of energy that we need in this locker room, because this team is trying to win. You have Joel Embiid, who's in his prime. He's still in his prime. I think he has 2 more years at this level. Now, do I think he's going to be an MVP caliber? That's yet to be seen. But I mean, Embiid is in his prime, and we have a young rising star in Tyrese Maxey, and bring in a player like Paul George. I don't think that's going to be a good look for this team, because me personally, I would rather prefer depth to having a third star. I just think this team needs, complementary pieces around Maxey and Embiid, that's going to help them, that's going to step up in the playoffs, and that can lessen the offensive and defensive burden on both Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. We need role players that's going to step up their games, right, and show up in big moments. Now, if we go back to the playoff series against the Knicks, I mean, people keep telling me that Jalen Brunson carried the Knicks. That's one of the best, or that's one of the greatest carry jobs in NBA history. I'm like, yo, stop. Why? Why did I say that? Is because Jalen Brunson has 5 guys averaging double figures, including himself. Now, he's averaging 30, right? If you put him aside, he has 5 other guys averaging double figures in points. Now, that really helps. It really helps a lot. And if you compare that to the Sixers team, who only have 2 guys, if you put Embiid aside, Max was averaging double figures and Kelly Oubre was averaging double figures. That's it. Sixers only had 2 guys averaging. I mean, Embiid had 2 guys averaging double figures for him. So that right there shows you that one of the reasons why the Sixers lost in the series is that the role players for the Knicks stepped up, and that was not it's not rocket science. It's not anything difficult to understand. I mean, role players, the team that has role players, the team that has depth, and that shows up 9 times out of 10, they are the teams that make deep postseason runs. I mean, you can take a look at the Miami Heat, and take a look at the Boston Celtics, and just a few teams that have depth, and teams that role players step up huge for them in big time moments. Now, the star players have to do their job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Embiid doesn't have to do his job. Embiid has to do his job. Maxey has to do his job. But if you have Embiid averaging 30, 32 points, and Maxey's averaging 29, and Kelly Oubre is averaging 13, like, where's the other scoring? Where's the other scoring coming from? So you do need star players that are going to show up in the postseason. That's for number one. And one of the quotes that he said was that he said Tobias Harris could definitely be a contributing piece to a championship contending team. Now, that right there, a lot of Sixer fans, were pissed off after he said that, because he was kind of alluding to the fact that there's a possibility that the Sixers could re-sign Tobias Harris in free agency. Now, if you say that Tobias Harris can be, a contributing piece to a championship contending team, I would agree. Now, the only reason why I would agree is because, me personally, I think Tobias Harris can be the eighth guy coming off the bench. I don't think he can be the second option on the championship team. I don't think he can be the third option, fourth, fifth. No. If he's coming off the bench, if he has a lesser role and coming off the bench and playing 10 to 15 minutes, yeah, that's fine. So if you're going to sign Tobias Harris and bring him on a team friendly deal, right, and not play him a ton of minutes, Nick Nurse, not play him a ton of minutes, just giving him 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, I'll definitely take that, because me personally, I don't like seeing free agents, walking out the front door just like that. I want to get something for players. I don't want them to, I don't just want them to walk out free. I definitely want to get some sort of assets from players. So if you plan on re-signing Tobias Harris, I'm not gonna all the way disagree with it, The only time I'm gonna disagree with it is if you plan to make him the third option on this team, which is not gonna work. It hasn't worked for the past five. I mean, for the past 4 seasons, it never worked. Right? Tobias was with the team for five and a half seasons. Him being a him being a third option, or him being or having a huge role on this team, it hasn't worked. It never will work, and it's never going to work. So I think Tobias, if you're going to bring him back, I think you have to give him a lesser role on a team friendly deal, and just give him 10 to 15 minutes. I don't think he should be playing 30 plus minutes. I mean, he played 30 minutes in Game 6 and scored 0 points. So that right there shows you that he can never be a second, third, or fourth option on a championship contending team. Shout out to my guy Humble 420. I mean Humble Man 420. I appreciate you for being here. Yeah, it's a late night stream. Yeah, I was trying to do this real quick so I can go watch the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Denver Nuggets. So yeah, I appreciate you for being on, bro. Appreciate you. I know. Yeah, I appreciate the support. You, Herm, and everybody else. Yeah, but overall, what are my thoughts on this press conference? Me personally, I wasn't really too happy with it because we already know Daryl Morey's track record. He's going to try to trade or sign star players. That's all he cares about. And he did say something about not, if you're old and you can still play basketball and you fit with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, we definitely want you on this team. Now, that's not something that I want to hear because we already know the NBA is getting younger. Teams are trying to play fast. Teams want athletic players. Teams want athletic and fast players. Um yeah, teams are not looking to get older. You have to get younger. And Embiid approaching 30 or being 30. I think Embiid is 30. Yeah, he's 30 years old right now. So Embiid, at 30, Maxi's at 24, and we have other players. I mean, as of right now, we don't have we'll just go with those two because those two are definitely returning to this team next year. But me personally, I hope Kelly Oubre comes back. Kelly Oubre is 27. I think he's going to be 28 years old this year. And I just think that we should get much more younger, and build this team around Maxi and Embiid, and lessen Embiid's responsibility offensively and defensively, because I believe him having to do so much is one of the causes of why he always gets hurt. Because I mean, last season, I mean, he was averaging 34 points. I mean, that's too much. We don't need you averaging 34 points in the regular season. If you're gonna average 34, we need to see that in the postseason. Because in the regular season, I mean, it's 82 games. You have to look to get other guys involved. Now, if you get your other guys involved, that's when they're able to step up huge in the postseason. So I think Daryl Morey should look to surround this team with very young talent, young and athletic players, wing players, guys that is 6'6", 6'7", and 6'8", athletic and fast, that can, that are versatile, that can shoot, that can attack the basket, that can play defense, and that can also make a play for each other. I think that's the type of team that Daryl Morey needs to surround Embiid and Maxey with, because surrounding these two players with older guys has not worked. They brought in PJ Tucker, didn't work. I mean, Harden was cool, but Harden was getting up there in age, right? And it didn't work. The Sixers got bounced in the second round, and this year they lost in the first round. Now, whether you want to bring up Embiid's injuries and the team not, I mean, Embiid missing how many games that he missed. I mean, he missed 2 months. That really did hurt the Sixers. I'm not going to deny that, but the team still lost in the first round, right? So Daryl Morey has to look at the situation and say, okay, what I did in the past did not work, right? And doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, that's insanity. So Daryl Morey should look to do something different this offseason. And this offseason could go down as one of the best off seasons in 76ers franchise history if Daryl Morey does the right thing. Now, what is the right thing? Not sign older players, right? I'm hearing Paul George could get $220 million over the next four. No, nah, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. At 34 years old, his second season into that deal is gonna be a very, very, very tough contract to move. So we know we don't want that. So surround this team with younger players, young athletic players that actually care about basketball, not players who are just happy to play, but players that actually want to win. We need winning players, players that are willing to go the extra mile to do whatever it takes to win. Not some other players that when they lose a basketball game, they don't care and they don't show any emotions and it's like, yeah, I won in life. I don't care if I win a championship or not. We don't need those kind of we don't need those kind of players on this team. We need guys that are actually going to play hard every single night, right? And I know it's a make or miss league, but even if you're missing shots, we need to see guys that are going to give effort, right? Guys who are going to play hard and give it everything they have night in and night out and play every single game like it's going to be their last. That's the caliber of players that the Sixers need. Now, one more thing. This team actually, I mean, not actually. This team clearly needs a backup center. And Paul Reed, I respect the hell out of Paul Reed, but it's not gonna work. Being 6'9", being undersized, playing a backup center position, it's not gonna work. It didn't work in the postseason, right? Every time Embiid went to the bench against the Knicks, they lost the lead. In game one and game two, Sixers are up going into the Sixers are up going into the second quarter. Paul Reed checks into the game, and then the Knicks go on a 13-3 run. Right, so that clearly shows you that Paul Reed is, he's a liability offensively and defensively. He can't score, can't defend the rim. Right, he's not a rim protector. Now he can grab you rebounds, he can get you rebounds, but actually being a rim protector, he's not that. That's not what he does. That's not his job. So this team actually needs a good enough backup center. And last but not least, this team needs an athletic power forward that's going to help out Embiid in terms of rebounding, um, and sometimes guarding the perimeter as well. That's what this team needs. And I've been saying this multiple times. I've been saying this a lot of times. I'll say it again. Embiid, the caliber of players that Embiid needs, or the caliber of players that you have to surround them with, is players. Athletic players that don't care about doing the dirty work. That's going to get you rebounds. That's going to get you offensive rebounds. That's going to work their asses off and help this team win. That's the caliber of players that Embiid needs. Guys that are going to do the dirty work. Tobias Harris is not going to do any dirty work for you. He's a finesse player. He doesn't seek contact, so it's not going to work. So that's the caliber of players that Embiid needs to play with. And even Maxey, you need a backup center that is an offensive threat, because when Maxey was running pick and rolls with Paul Reed, teams knew that Paul Reed is he's not a threat offensively. So all they did, right, was blitz him off the screen every single time. Blitzing him, trapping him, trying to get the ball out of his hands because they know he's a threat. Reed is not the threat. Nobody else on the team is a threat, right? And that's what teams were doing. The Knicks did it. Other teams in the regular season did it. It was clear as day. Right. So this team, that's the caliber of players that this team needs. We also need a good enough backup center. Now we had TJ McConnell, who's balling with the Pacers. Shout out to him. But yeah, these are the kind of players that this team needs, and I hope Daryl Morey, I hope he does the right thing this time, and whatever he does, this could go down as either one of the best off seasons in Sixers franchise history or one of the worst. And it's all in his hands. It all lies in the hands of Daryl Morey. Whatever decisions he make, whatever free agent signings he make, or whatever trades he's gonna make, everything lies in his hands. And the decisions he make is gonna dictate how Sixer fans are gonna feel. If you bring back Tobias Harris, you already know what the fan base is gonna say about that. Now I know Tobias is not. He's not coming back. Now I know he's not returning. I know for a fact he's not coming back. But I think Kelly Oubre, I think Buddy Hield, I think those guys will definitely be returning. But overall, Daryl Morey's press conference, I mean, it's not. I wasn't even shocked because he does this every year, and apologizes for not building this team the right way. And the next year, we're going to build it the right way. We're going to surround Joel with the right pieces that he needs to win with. And then you go into the offseason, he signs four centers. Last season, they signed four centers. They had Embiid, Paul Reed, Montrezl Harrell, Philip Petrusev, and they had Mo Bamba. So he signed four centers last year. We're not trying to see that this year. This year has to be something completely different from what we saw last year. And then get before the season started, that's when they signed Kelly Oubre. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. Now I hope Daryl Moore is watching the playoffs and taking notes on the kind of players or the caliber of players that this team would need. I mean, there are a lot of players on the Pacers, uh, even on the Knicks. A few players on there that could help this Sixer team. So if I'm Daryl Morey, I'll be watching the rest of this playoffs and taking notes every single time. And, the caliber of players that is going to fit with Maxi and Joel. That's what the focus should be on. Not the best players, but the players that are actually going to fit playing with Maxi and fit Nick Nurse's coaching style. I think that's what the plan should be, and I think that's what Daryl Morey should be focused on. Now, it's just funny that people are saying that Daryl Morey might sign Paul George to a four year. He's going to give him a 4-year contract, but if you're going to give Paul George a 4-year contract, why did you not give that to James Harden? That's a question that I have because that's your guy. You traded for him the first time. He made you who you are today, right? In case y'all didn't know, James Harden made Daryl Morey who he is today. And Daryl Morey, he gets a lot of credit for, he gets a lot of credit, a lot of undeserving credit. I mean, he's only throughout his history of being a GM or a president of basketball operations, he's only made the conference finals 2 times, in 2015 and 2018. That's it. No NBA finals appearances, no championships, no nothing. Now he was executive of the year in 2018, I believe, and that's basically it. He has absolutely nothing to show for it. So he's overrated as a as a um as a general manager. He's definitely overrated. But me personally, I'm just being optimistic. I just hope he makes the right roster decisions. Sign the players that this team needs, like a Kelly Oubre. I think Kelly definitely has to return. Buddy Hield definitely has to return. You know, obviously Maxey's going to get the extension. I'm hearing 202. He deserves more, but that's what I'm hearing. Hopefully, it's something more, right? And also sign the players that this team actually needs. And I think Mo Bamba is going to walk. I don't see a team signing him. Probably maybe another team would sign him, but I don't see the Sixers, bringing him back for next year. I don't see the Sixers bringing back a few of the older players, like Batum. I think Batum is going to retire after this year. He'll probably retire, right? I mean, after the Olympics, he'll probably retire. Kyle Lowry, it might be a chance that they might bring him back. But I mean, me personally, if you have the chance to sign a better backup point guard, I think you should definitely go for it. Me personally, but if Kyle Lowry is the best option, okay. I mean, he's gonna be on a veterans minimum contract anyway. So yeah, I'm not. You can't really be mad at that because you have to sign somebody to a veterans minimum, and if you give that to Kyle Lowry, that's fine with me, in my opinion. But bringing back Tobias Harris, that's not gonna work. And hopefully they can. I mean, Paul Reed, his contract is not guaranteed because the Sixers lost in the first round. So they can do anything they want. They can waive him, they can cut him, they can trade him. Me personally, if you trade him, that would be the better option. Now I saw a mock trade on Instagram that says Paul Reed could get traded to the Chicago Bulls alongside a first round pick for Alex Caruso. Now, me personally, I will make that move. If that's possible and if the Bulls are going to accept it, I'm definitely making that move. I would definitely make that move because Alex Caruso definitely fits. He definitely fits with Maxey and Embiid, and he damn sure fits Nick Nurse's coaching style. Because hard nosed defender, 3-and-D player that can he can put the ball on the floor. He can give you some ball handling duties if needed to. He can score when need to be. And when it comes to his defense, he's a hard nosed defender. He's a tough defender. He'll probably make the all defensive team this year. So if the Sixers have a chance to make a move like that, me personally, I would say that you make that move. You make that move, and just look to sign another backup center because Paul Reed, that experiment is not going to work. You've been with the team for 4 seasons. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So these are my thoughts on the press conference. I mean, it was cool. I wish it was longer than what it was. I think it was about a half hour, but I wanted it to be much longer because there were a lot of questions that that were not asked. And sometimes it's just like you would wish that the media team would ask questions like that. They'll ask certain questions, but they were not asked. But nonetheless, it was a good presser. Yeah, he was being politically correct and not implying certain things, insinuating certain things, and we know he's trying. If he gets the opportunity, he might bring in a third star. But I don't think that should be. I don't think that should be the move that the Sixers should make. I think just surround this team with just role players, complimentary role players that can actually step up in big moments. That's the kind of players that the Sixer team needs. Um, and he said it himself. I mean, someone at the wing position who can deliver in the playoffs, right? And Paul George, no, he can't deliver in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, he can't. He got bounced in round one, just like the Sixers did. So no, Paul George, no. But somebody else, a younger player, yeah, I'm definitely for it. But these are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, you can leave any thoughts right down below. I just wanted to make this a quick one. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on here, but I appreciate everybody that listened to this live. Shout out to Herm, Hollywood Herm. Shout out to Humbleman 420. And shout out to each and every person that's gonna listen to this on the playback. Man, I appreciate the love and support. Um we'll definitely be back tomorrow. We'll definitely we have a show tomorrow, so yeah, I'll definitely be back tomorrow. So these are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, leave any comments and we'll talk about it. Until next time, peace.